Welcome to the Journey Through Homeschooling podcast, practical support for every step of your homeschool adventure. My name is Jami Thornsberry.
And I'm Adonna Pryor.
Today, Adonna, we are going to talk about using movies in your homeschool curriculum. And this can sometimes be kind of a controversial topic because I think historically as homeschoolers, we have shied away from, popular media, so to speak, and for good reason, oftentimes. But you have used a lot of movies in your homeschool. Would that be right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's you going against the grain. Way to go, Adonna.
Yeah, pretty much that would be me.
So what prompted you to use movies in your homeschool curriculum?
My instinct would be to tell you laziness. And then I tried to just find a way to use something that I really enjoyed doing. Without, of course, going against any convictions that I had or my husband had. But movies were always a part of my youth. My best friend and I went to a movie at least once a month. And it was just, as junior high and high school students, just what we did. We would, grab $1 or $1.50. You could find change in the couch and go to the movie. This is back in the days when you could do that. So if we needed it, we would have somebody drive us. Usually her mom or my mom would drive us to the movie theater. And we could stay for a couple of showings of the same movie. If we liked it, we would sit through it. We always made sure we sat through the credits. Mm-hmm. We were, those kinds of people. And if it was boring, then we would just go to the mall that was attached to the movie theater and walk around until the appointed time for our parents to show up. But yeah, it was just what I did. I enjoyed it. I didn't like older movies. We didn't have a way to watch them on television. So we always, chose whatever was on that month, whatever was playing, that month. And when I had a family of my own, I wanted to introduce them to some of the movies that I had watched. But as they would come on television and I would watch them, I would realize that they weren't always a movie that I want my kids to watch. Yeah. They would be movies that contained a tremendous amount of innuendo, especially if you have, elementary or junior high kids. This wasn't something I really wanted my kids to see. But I loved the thought of being able to bring what I loved to their lives. So just kind of looked around and tried to find something that would be good for them to watch that I felt comfortable turning on.
Right.
And it really was, part of it was the need to have an entertainment for the kids that I could trust. And in the movie world, the television world, you can't always do that.
That's true.
We had an early discussion when Jeff and I were married about witchcraft. There were some fun sitcoms that involved witchcraft. I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched, things that I would consider to be quite harmless. And he said, nope, I don't want the kids watching those. They involved witchcraft, and the Bible says to avoid witchcraft, to avoid sorcery, any of that kind of stuff. So I am actually the parent who never read the Chronicles of Narnia to my kids. We didn't go down any path that would contain sorcery or witchcraft when the kids were little. When they were older, I would say 14, 15, then we may have watched something that contained witchcraft. But for the most part, we totally avoided all of it.
Yeah.
And that was difficult. Going to the library, there were a lot of books on witchcraft at the library. There were a lot of my friends who were reading. These are classic books. The Chronicles of Narnia are not considered out of the realm of what you could read as a Christian homeschooler. As a matter of fact, every single Christian homeschooler was reading them. So I felt like I was on the outs. There were also, at that time, werewolf movies coming out and vampire movies coming out. Tons of my children's contemporaries, their peers, were going to see these movies and invited my kids to go. And I would always say, no, we're not. That's not what we're seeing. So it was really, really difficult to find film and movies, especially anything made after 1960, that I could trust, that you could sit down and say, I really like this. Mm-hmm. There were some really great kind of film work coming out of PBS with Anne of Green Gables series. Right. Very long series, but they had the Anne of Green Gables series. They also had Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility. What's another one that I was thinking of? And they had different versions of those that would come out. But I think we started really with the kids with Anne of Green Gables. I knew the girls would be drawn to it. I knew my oldest would adore it and love it. She's a redhead. I knew that she would enjoy that, and she did. So we also looked at shorter kind of movies that would be popular, like the Little House on the Prairie, the movie, the Christmas movies, and those kinds of things. So that's kind of where we started. But for me, that love of film and wanting to watch good movies, wanting to watch interesting movies has always been there since I was a little kid. And it just became more of a passion when I started looking for things that we could enjoy as a family, and we wouldn't have to be embarrassed by it. Yeah. We wouldn't have to say, oh, let's skip through this section right here, you know? Yeah. So that's kind of where we started on that journey. And now we have many, many films that we love and adore.
Yeah. And I think, one of the reasons why so many families just avoid it altogether is from what you were talking about. The innuendos in even really films that really young kids could watch, or is deemed appropriate in some areas for children. But like you said, if you're willing to do the homework, if you're willing to dig deep into the files of film history, watching movies as a family does have some great benefits. It creates a shared experience that's great for bonding. It can develop critical thinking and media literacy. They get really, a lot of the movies that seem appropriate are early historical films. So you've got history in there, social concepts, and it's a more relaxing way to dive into a subject than maybe doing a formal or wrapping it up as a formal lesson.
I think that the one aspect of it that really pulled me in was that I could introduce a film that was based off of a book, and I could bring in kids who maybe not were at the point where they were reading well, or maybe they didn't like reading, and I could interest them in the film and possibly get them to be interested in the book as well. Or at the very least, I could give them kind of the context of where the book is going, and then when they read through the book, they understood the words on the page a little bit better.
Right.
So that was also part of that, is that you can bring into a person's lives the book that you really enjoyed, and together you can talk about, does this movie do it justice, right? Mm-hmm. Is this one of those things that you like because of the movie, or do you like it because of the book? And really, when you get into it, people are very opinionated about that. There are some movies that absolutely trash the book. They don't follow it at all. Mm-hmm. It really is a horrible thing. Even though the movie has value, it's a good one, it really doesn't follow the line of the story. Right. And then there are some movies where you watch it and you say, oh, I didn't see that in the book. I didn't really pick that up in the book. I think Sense and Sensibility for me is one of those. I think it's 1996 version, directed by Ang Lee. That Sense and Sensibility movie has some comparisons that he pulls out as a director in the film that I didn't really see as I read through the book. But when you watch him explain it, you really understand maybe a little bit better of how the author meant for it to be understood. So I enjoyed how that particular director pulled the story around. Not all versions of Sense and Sensibility do I like. That particular one, I think, is an excellent portrayal of the book.
Yeah. And therein lies, another perspective of this is, just like you can read different versions of the same story, right, and pull out different things, especially with like biographies, right? You can read a biography of the same person, or several biographies of the same person written by different people, and it's fascinating how you get different perspectives of their life. And in the same way, you can do that with movies like Sense and Sensibility, where different directors have taken it on because it is such a classic, and then you can really take that back to the book and say, where did they gain this perspective? Why do you think they took that out of there? Why do you think they put this in there? Those types of things. Yeah. I remember the first time I watched, and I can't remember which John Steinbeck it was. I want to say it might have been Grapes of Wrath. And the movie was nothing like the book. And it was so disappointing to me. They had combined characters and, completely taken out, huge portions of the book. But it did make me think about going back to the book and thinking about, the director's perspective. Why would they combine these characters? What was lost in the book by combining those characters? What was, lost or gained from taking out different scenes? And it really, that's where I think those critical thinking skills come in, is if you do encourage that when you're watching the movies, having those kind of, I want to say lighthearted, but they're probably not really lighthearted discussions afterwards. And what I mean by lighthearted is you're not making it like a formal educational experience for your kids where you're grading them and those kind of things, but you're just following up with a really good set of, conversations about it.
Right. Yeah. One of the authors that really stunned me was Dashiell Hammett. There are a lot of movies based on his writing in the 30s and 40s. There's a huge crime drama, film noir, and a lot of that has Dashiell Hammett as its author. He was alive at that point, and he was writing these books, and then the books would be instantly made into this great film. One of my favoriteest film series is The Thin Man. I love the lightheartedness of it. I love that it's a mystery, it's a crime, but it contains a lot of fun. It's an enjoyable thing to watch. You're not upset. You're not you're not invested in anything. There's not a huge emotional upheaval when you watch this movie. The series is fun. Well, they're a Dashiell Hammett series, and I thought, well, let me get some of his books and read them. His books are kindly simple. I would say that they're meant to be made into a movie. And when you read them, you realize that's probably what he was thinking when he was writing them. They're written more like a play or a movie script. For me, they're not an enjoyable read. The movies are really great, but the book is just not good reading for me. I don't enjoy it. I wouldn't sit down and enjoy it. And there are some books that are like that. P.D. James wrote great mystery stories, but her attention to detail could be overwhelmingly boring. When you put that on film, that boringness is gone.
Right.
You still get, depending on who the director is and the producer, you still get the feel for the characters and the intensity that she wanted you to understand about the character and why they were doing what they were doing. They weren't just, doing it for no purpose. They all had a reason why they were reacting as intensely as they were. So I enjoyed those films better than the book. I like the books, but I enjoyed some of the films that were made from her books better. It also brought me to G.K. Chesterton. I knew about him, but I had never read his books until I watched some of the mysteries that were on
Father Brown.
Yeah, some of the Father Brown mysteries that were on film. I really liked him, and then that leads me to look at what else did that particular author do. So it really does. It really can. Watching film really can pull you into a book, and it can pull you into a deep kind of conversation. As a family, it has really drawn us closer. We rank movies of various genres, and we pick them apart. We love to find stupid movies. We love to find remakes. We especially love movies from that golden era of Hollywood, which is in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. And to go back there, one of my kids adores all kinds of military history. Film was a great place for him to actually go back and look at movies that are being made before World War II begins, the attitudes that are prevalent, some of the speech that's prevalent, and then move into the movies that are made during World War II versus movies that are made after World War II. Once you realize what Hitler was actually doing, what he actually wanted to accomplish, very different films are being made about World War II during that era. And some of them are very touching. Some of my favorite movies come out of that. But there again, you have to be careful with any of those movies because there's going to be death. There's very possibly going to be foul language in a lot of them. So we had to really go through the movies and say, what do we want them to hear, and what age do we believe that it is appropriate for them to watch this particular film? Yeah. It put a lot on you, but there are some great sites out there. Focus on the Family has a site. I can't remember the name of them, but they have a movie review site. You can go. They will tell you exactly what's in the film. Do they use alcohol? Do they use smoking? Do they reference sex? Is there any nudity? Is there whatever it is? They will tell you. Is there a bad word anywhere? They will lay it out for you. Yeah. And it's great. I love it. They have really good reviewers, and they're not telling you from their perspective, I think this is appropriate. They're telling you exactly what's in the film, and they're letting you make the choice of whether you want your child to see that or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
We relied pretty heavily on them in the beginning. We really did.
What were some of your favorite movies when your kids were younger to introduce them to?
Well, I did introduce them. We went through things like the Thin Man series, which is a murder series, but like I said, it's a lighthearted kind of series. Some of my favorites would be a lot of the older Christmas movies that would be out, like It's a Wonderful Life, Shop Around the Corner, Bells of St. Mary's. So I was looking more for the actor or the actress that was in the film, because I knew that would have a particular bent to it, or a particular director.
Right.
So I was looking at things that would have Myrna Loy, William Powell. If I wanted to have maybe some kind of lighthearted comedy, Bing Crosby was really good. Anything by Abbott and Costello was tons of fun. As they grew up and they were in junior high, they were looking more at like film noir, anything that would have very deep characters that were flawed, and you may not wholly agree with everything they're doing. And they may find odd ways of doing it. So you're looking into, Lauren Bacall, Humphrey Bogart, that kind of thing. And we looked, I think one of our early movies that we really liked was The Maltese Falcon. Mm-hmm. And then again, staying with Humphrey Bogart, it's just gone out of my head, was the movie that's in Casablanca. I really liked that movie. So those were kind of a couple of our early old movies that would pull them into a different culture,
right,
a different country, a different way of thinking, a different part of the U.S. I really love doing that. Musicals, The Sound of Music, I bet we watched weekly for an entire year. Robinson,
beautiful.
Yeah, Robinson Crusoe. Oh my goodness. Disney put out really great movies in the 60s. Mm-hmm. They had some, not just film, but they also had a couple of documentaries in there that were really good. Yeah. So we would, what are the girls that look alike?
Are you talking
that
about
swap place at Parent Trap? The old Parent Trap. Yeah. We all like the old Parent Trap. And I tried to find some of those movies that I had watched, or think back when I had watched them when I was kids. Mm-hmm. And Parent Trap was one of those that I really enjoyed going over. So we pulled a lot from just a particular actor or actress. If we were to look up The Sound of Music, then we might follow that particular person. But one of the great things that we would do is my kids would get online and research the family. Oh, who is this family? We would look at, maybe we would research the song Edelweiss. What is that song about? Is it about a flower? We would download different versions of the song. We would sing along. We would memorize it. Mm-hmm. So we were always I was always trying to, if we had a film we really liked, I was always trying to expand it into seeing how can they learn something about where this movie is based. Right. So when you do Captain's Courageous, or you do Casablanca, you can actually pull the map out and say, this is where these people are. If you're doing Treasure Island, where might they be lost? And then you can build your own treasure and bury your own treasure in the yard and make your own maps. And so these were really fun movies that I thought, it gives me an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, where everybody's quiet, they're invested, they're interested in something, but it also gives us a little bit of geography, gives us a book that we can later read, we can pull from, and it gives us maybe even some food, some menus. Some of these people were eating some strange stuff, and we could go through and say, ooh, I've never had that, let's try that. So it really was, in many ways, a jumping off point for some fun unit studies.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I find so many times now as I talk to parents, and maybe you hear this a lot too, a lot of parents they like the idea of a unit study, but they're not quite sure how to pull it off.
Right.
What do you say to that?
They're easy. You just need to look at everything as a collection of pieces. One of the movies that we did early on was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. So you have an early version of Jimmy Stewart. They called him James Stewart, on all of the banners at that point. You have an early version of Jimmy Stewart, and he is doing. He's entering politics, and you have a very wonderful, innocent feel about it. But you have so many pieces that are brought into that. A piece of small town politics versus large politics. We always would watch this during an election year. You have the involvement of the law, the involvement of different kinds of rules that are in Congress. So any of these are little pieces that you can pull out. You just have to go from watching the movie as a whole to looking at the separate pieces that you can use for your homeschool. The filibuster is one of those things that he uses in the movie. He is constantly talking, and it is a huge part of the last half of this movie. What are the rules of Congress? Well, you can go back and read the articles in the Constitution. What is a filibuster? How has it changed? Now you can look at case law. So there's so much fun that you can just take from one thing, and you can make a unit study out of Supreme Court decisions over the last 100 years, and you can pull in this movie as here's how we used to do it. Here's how in the last 20 years Congress has changed the filibuster.
Yeah.
Here's how we do it now.
You could even bring in some old Schoolhouse Rocks.
That's right. You can we did Schoolhouse Rock. Love those. So you have to kind of look at the film for its parts and its pieces, in Sense and Sensibility, especially that 1990s version with Ang Lee as the director. He uses color in his representation of these men who are introduced to the family. There are horses, which traditionally we think the white knight, here's the knight riding in on a white charger, right? Mm-hmm. His white horse. Well, you do see a character in this movie riding in on a white horse, but he's the wrong guy. And then the right guy rides in, and he's not on this huge, beautiful white horse. So you see that introduction of how the director is playing off of that. And it really is one of those lessons where it's almost a religious lesson for any teenage girl when you say sometimes the wrong guy looks really, really great. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the right guy, he doesn't have it all together. He doesn't have it all together. He's not riding in on the white horse.
Yeah.
He's not the strongest guy in the room. He's not the best looking guy in the room. Sometimes the wrong guy looks really fabulous. And that's one of the lessons we pulled from it. You know what? Sometimes Satan is the most beautiful thing that's ever been created, and you fall for his tricks because we fall for beauty all the time. And that was one of the things that we pulled from that movie. When we did the Civil War, I'm trying to remember the name of the film. There was a film that's got Gary Cooper, and it's an Amish family. It has absolutely gone out of my head. And we watched that movie because it is, not only is it a sweet family movie, but it also has the angst of what might the Civil War have looked like for a family that didn't want to take up arms. But all of that, any of that, you can use in a unit study. So you're looking at a film, and you're saying, what is here that they might be interested in? And it's going to be the same thing that you're doing when you would write a book report or a movie report. You're going to look at who wrote this, where does it take place, what's the setting, what's the time frame, what year, what's happening in the world that's affecting these characters. And then you're going to look at the environment that the film is showing you. Is this spring? Is it summer? Does it go across an entire year or multiple years? Is this involving all women? Is this involving a lot of men? Is it a farming community? Is it a city? Do they have different kinds of foods? Do they have a holiday? All of these things you're going to pull out of it, and you're going to say, how can we make this into a lesson? And if you already have a lesson you want to do, then pull in movies that are going to include that.
Right.
We include the Thin Man movie in our Christmas movies because it is based around the holiday of Christmas. They don't talk a lot about Christmas. You know, it's kind of like Die Hard. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Is it a
right?
Christmas?
The big discussion. But in the Thin Man, Christmas is kind of the backdrop. It's the holiday that's occurring. And you can see how New Yorkers in the 1930s, mid-1930s, were celebrating. But there's a train. If you were to do something like that, there's trains. There's all kinds of things. So you're not looking at it necessarily as a whole piece. You're trying to break down different parts of it and pull those out that you want to use. And vice versa. If you've got a subject that you want to talk about, you can pull in a movie that includes that in it.
Right.
So any kind of holiday that a movie has, you can pull that in it.
So I think as a unit study, a lot of parents are feeling unsure that they're going to cover everything if they use a movie. Or, you know, here we are, we're at this time of year. This is being recorded in the beginning of December. So we are in that place where Christmas movies are abounding. And
Right.
Quite frankly, probably most of us want to take a little bit of a break and maybe have an hour and a half or two where everybody's engaged in something educational that maybe we don't have to use a ton of our brain power on as moms. What do you say to that mom who's like, I wish I could do this, but I just don't know that I could really count this as an educational experience? Or maybe they're not going to, you know, get the full, you know, whatever they need from this.
One great aspect about unit studies is they're learning without realizing that it's school. You're pulling into your day just routine, what seem to be routine activities. Maybe you're watching a movie that has like It's a Wonderful Life that's got very deep meaning, but you're pulling out of it a holiday ritual. You're pulling out of it World War II and how it affects families. You're pulling out of it poverty. You're pulling out of it a study on money, right? How do you run a business on just $1? What is the bank foreclosing, right? You really are giving them kind of a diagram of how they want to jump off in their learning. You're laying out for them this smorgasbord on a table, and you're letting them pick some of the things that they really like. Do I want to look at the Miracle on 34th Street, and I want to do a study on St. Nicholas? Or maybe I just want to study the parades. What kind of parades are there? How do you make a balloon? Where do they store those things? How long does it take them to do that? What kind of tractor do you have? I've been to local parades. I've seen trucks burn up an engine because they're having to pull a load that's too much. You can do a physics lesson. All of these things are allowing the kid and allowing you to see points of interest in their life and things that help you connect. Jami and I have enforced this so much over the last couple of years. Character development is king. If you lose their character, you've lost. So having that relationship while you're building character, while you're looking at quality film, and you can build on all of that, plus you can teach them something about a recipe. And in doing so, you can teach them something about mathematics, or you can teach them something about a different culture. You can actually show them, because you have it on film, what it looked like to be in the woods in 1920s. You can look at all of these things. You can pull up a silent picture by Harold Lloyd and look at the the beginning of film. Look at how he altered what was happening and how he affected film for the next 100 years to come.
Exactly.
Just by what he was doing and how his brain was working, and how a ton of movies copy the work of Harold Lloyd. So you can study those. One of the best times we've had is just looking at all the mistakes. Watching a film that's set in the West and seeing a contrail from a plane in the sky and going, hey, I wonder where that came from, in the 1880s. Ooh. So it looking for mistakes. Those are just so much fun. When you're laughing and you're learning, it is sticking in their head.
Absolutely.
It is staying in there. It is a core memory that they want to come back to time and time again. They want to enjoy that time when they were learning and they were laughing with a parent, when they were sitting down with a hot chocolate and some popcorn. Education can include hot chocolate and popcorn.
Yeah, for sure.
It can include those little hot gummy things, whatever, those little hot tamale things. Have a total movie experience. Right? Get the buttered popcorn and the Coke and the hot tamales and the milk duds, and just sit there and enjoy a really good film. And then if you want to learn about it later, you've got that opportunity because you've already built that relationship. Yeah. They already love and are invested in learning more about that.
Yeah. As Charlotte Mason says, and you guys know we love Charlotte Mason around here, you've already started a relationship with that subject. And I think of, too, as you were talking, just introducing our kids to like Charlie Chaplin and those old silent movies and where movies began. And actually, we were watching a documentary the other night about the early days of movie making. And when audiences first saw that train coming toward them, they actually leapt up and gasped that it was going to come out of the screen. And I think for our kids who are so inundated with, AI technologies and all the, quote unquote realities of today, seeing the simplicity of, so many years ago and enjoying that, there is value just in that, right? Because we're showing them that, we don't have to have all this, modern technology to enjoy moments and to enjoy, the life that was.
One of our favorite directors would be Alfred Hitchcock. I enjoy the mystery genre. That's one of the things I like. I don't like grossness.
Right, I don't either.
I don't like...
But I love a good mystery.
Right. I don't like the scary movies of today, but there is the ability to have a suspenseful movie that keeps you on the edge of your seat, that can also make your heart stop and make you gasp. And Alfred Hitchcock does it with just a look. When you watch Rear Window and you've spent an hour and a half with this buildup, and then you see the actor turn and look directly in the camera, it is terrifying. It is a scary thing. Now, Raymond Burr is a nice guy, right? He's a nice guy. He's a great actor. But when he turns and looks directly in the camera, you feel like he's looking at you, and it is terrifying. It almost makes you want to turn the movie up and scream and go hide. So, what you lose in modern filmmaking is that real ability to write well, to act well, and to be able to carry a story in a realistic way that can convey love and can convey fear and can convey angst and anger. All of those things you see, I think, represented more accurately in those films from years ago. So having a good time to set aside for a nice film, I think is it's fun. It's fun for your family, and I would start with something that's enjoyable, something funny, something that you're going to laugh at, something that does involve kids, right? Something like The Sound of Music. Well, you say I don't like musicals. My husband hates musicals. Well, then look at Captain's Courageous, or look at I just mentioned a second ago. It's gone. The People on the Island. Swiss Family Robinson. Look at something like that that does involve a lot of fun for the kids. It does involve child actors, and then you can study them. Look up and see where do they actually end up.
Where
right?
are they today?
Where are they today? These are films that are enjoyable. They're fun. They're not really serious adult movies, but they do have difficult kind of questions on it. Swiss Family Robinson is, that to me is just like a classic, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's just great. Captain's Courageous. Is it a hard movie to get through? Does a person you like die? Yes. These things happen. But they're really good movies to watch as a family. If you watch Captain's Courageous, you might want to keep the hankies close by.
Yes.
But you don't need that when it comes to Swiss Family Robinson. But this time of year, you can just focus on Christmas movies.
Yeah, really
old
good
Christmas movies. There are tons of them. Miracle on 34th we mentioned. It's a Wonderful Life. The Bishop's Wife is really fun. I like that one. It Happened on Fifth Avenue is kind of a weird one, but it's a good one. There is an odd Barbara Stanwyck movie that we watch, and it's called. No, it's not this one. There's Christmas in Connecticut, which is a really good one. Bells of St. Mary, but there's another Barbara Stanwyck where she's actually a convict. And the lawyer has to take her home for Christmas because they don't want to put her in jail. And it's just a fun one. I'll Be Seeing You. All of these are really good Christmas films that were made years ago. The Shop Around the Corner is probably one of my favorites. It was made in 1940, and again, it has James Stewart in it, an early James Stewart, early Jimmy Stewart in it. And it is the prequel to You've Got Mail.
Yes.
So if you like You've Got Mail, you'll like Shop Around the Corner, even though it is a black and white. And of course, the favorite Christmas is White Christmas with Bing Crosby in it. One of our favorites. You can sing along. Oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how many dozens of times I have seen White Christmas.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I would start with some Christmas movies. I was trying to remember that Barbara Stanwyck one. I'll probably have to look it up. But one of my favorite. There's also some quirky ones. The Three Godfathers is a Western. Wow. With a Christmas Western, and it is with John Wayne. It's based on these three men who rob a bank, and while they're escaping, come across a woman who gives birth to a little boy, and then she dies. And these three men, who are also trying to escape from the law, run from the law, now have the task of caring for this newborn infant. And they manage to eventually, after a lot of hardship, one of them at least gets the infant back to a city called Jerusalem.
Wow.
And it really is, it ends well, but it is one of the best little Westerns that you can watch. It's if you like Westerns, that would probably be one of my favorites. I know it's my family's favorite. I was trying to look at The Bishop's Wife is a nice movie. Probably not one of my favorites. But we watch it. I do like it. White Christmas is a good one. There's a lot of music in that one. There is one, I was trying to remember the one that involves Humphrey Bogart, and I think it was made in the 50s. But it's and the three angels, I believe, maybe it's called Three Angels. I'll Be Seeing You is another John Wayne movie from the 40s. Let's go down. I'm trying to go down the list. Remember the Night. That is the Barbara Stanwyck movie I was trying to tell you, where she's a convict. And you get to look at her life in that and some of the things that may have led her to choose a wrong path in life, and some of the things that led the male lead to choose the right way in life. So you get to meet both families, and you get to see how they grew up and the hardships they would have experienced from their family. So I do like that one. A Holiday Affair is a good one. It's kind of a cute little movie. It has a little boy in it. We watch it every year. I like that one. It's from, I believe, 1949, pretty close to 1950s. I've never seen The Great Rupert. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, never really seen it. Christmas Carol, I do like it, but because it had ghosts in it, we didn't watch it until the kids were older.
Yeah, we definitely saved that for older.
And I like the one from the 1950s.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think his name is Alistair Cook, maybe Alistair, I can't remember. Alistair Sim. Alistair Sim is his name. So I like that one from 1951, but because it did have, it did have that aspect of ghosts, we did wait until they were older to do that one. We're No Angels is the other movie I was talking about. Not Three Angels, but We're No Angels. An odd, quirky one. If you've got older kids, a very odd and quirky one. I was trying to think of some of the ones. I'm going through this list I have on my computer, but those are really our favorites as far as Christmas is about. We've got a bunch saved that would be more Hallmark movies. Some of my family, I won't mention who they are, kind of like that Hallmark movie genre. I'm not there with them. When they pull one of those up, I generally moan and groan and complain. I do the same thing when someone pulls up a Western. I'm not a huge fan of Westerns. Just not. I like comedy, and I like mystery. I like to engage my brain and figure out what's going on. Or I like to just watch a movie I've seen a bazillion times. Yeah. And get through it. But I would start with something fun that makes a good Christmas movie and pull out what you want from it.
Yeah. Well, we've got some favorites for our family. Keys of the Kingdom with Gregory Peck. Mm-hmm. Treasures of the Snow. David Copperfield. A Man Called Peter. Lilies of the Field, Friendly Persuasion, Little Women, starring Katharine Hepburn, Fahrenheit 451. Of course, that's, for a little bit older. Captain's Courageous is on ours. Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Cry, the Beloved Country. Life with Father. Anna and the King. October Sky is one of our favorites. It actually is a true story that is set in a town very near to where my in-laws grew up. So that always makes it a little more interesting because some of the places that they go, my in-laws are very familiar with. The True Story of Miss Potter, Stand and Deliver, Brother, Sun, Sister Moon, and Chariots of Fire.
Yeah, I like all those.
Those are some of our favorites. And again, movies can really add to your homeschool. It can also give you as a mom a break while still engaging your kids with entertainment and education hand in hand. So we would love to hear from you. We would love to know what some of your favorite family movies are, whether they're ones that we've mentioned or ones that we didn't mention. We would love for you to let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on Facebook or Instagram We are on there under Exodus Christian Academy, and we will see you next week on Journey Through Homeschooling podcast.